And thank you all for being here this morning. There's a game that I learned from the teens in the teen group a while back. It's called Who Has the Hat? I don't know if anybody's played Who Has the Hat. I'll show you how. Basically, the way the game goes is we have an imaginary hat. So I take the hat and I hand it to Joe. Joe hands it to Marcy. Marcy hands it to the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama hands it to Elizabeth, and Elizabeth hands it to Jean. Who has the hat?
Jean.
You have the hat. So Dave takes the hat and he passes it to Marcy. Marcy passes it to me, and I hand it to Liam. Who has the hat? You have the hat. Miss Marcy has the hat. Now, it might seem a little confusing because it didn't really explain the rules of the game. And actually, the game is to not explain the rules and let the people who don't know what the rules are figure it out. We'll play again a little more later. So the talk is called I Am the Way. And lots of prophets have come pointing the way. Lots of avatars. In fact, the founders of most religions were those way showers, those prophets, those spiritually advanced people who came pointing the way. And the Buddha, as an example, knew that there was a tendency for people to mistake the guy pointing with the truth that he was pointing to. In fact, he said that. He said, I come pointing to the moon, do not mistake my finger for the moon. It's kind of important. It's in the Tao. It's in the New Testament. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, the light. I am the way. That's pretty powerful. I am the way. If somebody came along and said, I am the way, you tend to want to follow them. You tend to want to figure out what it is that they've got going on. That's the way. It's the right way. But who has the way? Who has the hat? We have 9 candles here. Is it possible that only one of them has the hat? So maybe the Tao got the hat and gave it to the Hindus, gave it to the Jews, gave it to the Buddhists, who passed it to the Christians gave it to the Muslims gave it to the religious scientists. Who has the hat?
I have the hat.
You have the hat. The trick in the game, who has the hat, is that the first person who says anything after you ask the question, who has the hat, they have the hat. So if I say, I give the hat to Joe, and I ask Marcy, who has the hat?
Joe.
No, Marcy has the hat, because she's the one who spoke.
It's kind of tricky, Marcy.
It's a tricky thing.
I think I better wake up.
Because it's counterintuitive. It doesn't necessarily follow for us. Because you go through this whole logical head-based thing, and then you have to try and figure it out. Dalai Lama's not even here. I take the hat and I give it to Jesus. Jesus gives it to Moses. Moses gives it to Muhammad. Muhammad gives it to Liam. Who has the hat? I have the hat. I have the hat. I am the way. One of my favorite spiritual characters is Yoda. And Yoda would say about I am the way, backwards the sentence is. I am the way. So what is the way? I am. It's not I am the way. The way is I am. It sounds like it means the same thing, but when we hear it, we're thinking about where the hat is. We're thinking about who has the hat. What is the way? I am. And I am is the shortest sentence in the English language. 3 letters long, but it's a noun and a verb. It is the shortest and also, in a lot of ways, the most powerful sentence in the English language. Because whatever we put after that I am is what we're giving our attention and our intention and our power to. Take one of those huge cruise ships or an aircraft carrier, absolutely enormous, displacing tons and tons and tons of water. And when they steer the ship, they point the front of it in a direction, and the whole rest of the ship goes that way. They don't have to guide the entire ship. They turn and point the front of the ship, and it carves its way through the water following that direction. We work the same way. That's what I am is all about. It's about where we're going to point ourselves. What direction are we going to be facing as we move forward into our lives? So we speak our word. You speak your word. You have your word. And you can use your word any way that you want to. There are people who, I was dealing with somebody this week who keeps saying the stuff that he's sick of. It's like, man, don't do that in front of me. I'm sick of this, I'm sick of that, I'm sick of this person, I'm sick of this relationship. It's like, that's not going to do anything other than bring sickness. Don't do that. Is he annoyed? Okay, great, say that you're annoyed. If you're joyous, say that you're joyous. If you want to create something in your life, I hate this job, I got to get out of here, that's really a bad affirmation. That leads to unemployment. What would be a better way of saying that?
I'm frustrated. I want something better.
That's right, I'm open to a new job. Because as soon as when we go from not wanting what we do have to wanting what we're bringing into our lives, we're putting some power into our I am. We're acknowledging that we have the hat. So you speak your word as clearly as possible, fine-tuning it so that you're actually stating what it is that you want, and thereby create the experience of your life. Oh, Reverend Bill, that sounds pretty simple. I don't think it could be that easy. It is pretty simple. I am the way. That's only 4 words. We still manage to misunderstand it. I am is the way. Follow me. I'm showing you how to use this I am word to create your life. I'm doing it. I'm showing you that I'm doing it. I mean, Jesus was renowned for being loving and doing miracles. He said, you can do this too. Do this way. Use this I am and follow me. And everybody says, oh, worship his finger. Is it possible that only one person in history got this right?
I doubt it.
I don't think so. And I don't think it's possible if you just take, and this is only 9 of them, if you can't take 9 of them and say one of them's right and 8 of them are wrong. They all got something. Different ways of saying that same truth, different ways of getting at that same I am, different ways of explaining the circumstance and the situation. I don't have all the answers. There's not a candle up there for me yet. We'll have to see what happens. But the universe is not a one-way enterprise. There is no sign that says one way, do not enter. Wrong way, go back. They're all the way. They're all different ways of understanding and explaining it. Because if we can have a question and read something in the scripture from Christianity and have it answered and addressed by something that the Buddha said or something that's in the Bhagavad Gita, we're not saying that one of these is better than the other. What we're saying is, I'm finding the light in an area that's really filling me. I'm finding that guidance in a way that's helpful and supportive and directive for me. We're deciding where our ship is going to go.
Bill, your candle's not up there, but you're holding it.
He is it.
I am the way. There you go. Thank you. So what do you think? What's your candle? What's your story? Who has the hat?
I do.
Yeah, you have the hat. Just acknowledge that you have the hat. You're the one to speak, you have the hat. And whatever the hat means to you, you've got it, you are it, and you get to do it. So there's one mountain, this one spiritual mountain that we're all climbing, and we argue about which path is better. Some of us are at different levels than others on the path. Some of the paths go up and then they go down for quite a while, and then maybe they come back up again. And that's not to say that any of the paths are wrong, or that one of the paths isn't going to lead to the top of the mountain. They're all different paths. They're all different ways. And we start in so many different directions. You know, you look at the tallest mountain in the world, which is Everest, it's the base of it's in multiple countries. So it's not like you have to be in Nepal to get to the top of Mount Everest. But the people in Nepal want you to go to Nepal for whatever their own reasons happen to be. The people who have a candle, the people who have a path, the people who have a way would like you to follow their way. I would like you to acknowledge that you have the hat. You can choose whichever path you want. The only thing that's important is to choose a path of love, to choose a path of peace and of harmony, something that is going to be highest and best for you and for everybody involved. Because what tends to happen in the world, as we've noticed, is when somebody does something for their own personal gain, where they're working their ego against it, sometimes it works really well for a while. Sometimes it works really badly for a very short while. It depends on how many people get involved and enlisted in that. I've told you the story before of my friends Jeff and Jack, who had a union ceremony in Florida 17 years ago, and because the state of Florida would not allow them to get married, being a gay couple. And they moved to Pennsylvania some time ago. And in October, we had a wedding for them. They actually got married because that became legal in Pennsylvania. And in the election, the Attorney General who was running in Florida said that the top priority in the campaign was there will be no gay marriage in Florida. And she won. And last week, the Supreme Court says, starting January 1st, there will be gay marriage in Florida. So it didn't matter what that temporary intention was to limit the love, to limit the possibility, to limit the connection. It came about anyway. Because that highest and best, that love for everyone involved, is always pressing itself forward. Sometimes it can get delayed for a while. That's where a lot of our frustrations come from, because we want it now. I am open to all the good in the universe, and I'd like to have it delivered by FedEx this afternoon, please. And that'd be really nice. But if I were in charge, we don't want to go there. I might think that things would be great. You might not think that they're so wonderful. And that's why we all get to choose the experience that we want to have, to open ourselves up to it, to be in that allowing space, to let our light shine, to let more love into the world, and then turn it over. I'm not going to say what I want to have happen. I'm going to say what the experience is going to be once it's going on, how I'm going to feel about it when it's finished. You ever get in an argument with somebody who just wants to be right? Never. No. And they're making themselves miserable, and they're making everybody else miserable, and the fight goes on and on and on forever. And eventually, for myself, I got to the point where I realized I have to choose. I can be right or I can be happy. My ego told me that I was going to be happy because I was right. And that was great for the struggle while I was going through the whole thing, until I turned out to be right, at which point everybody was so angry with me that it didn't make any difference. There was still no happiness in being right. And then at the other times, when I became more evolved, as I moved up the path on the mountain just a little bit, even if it was just for a little while, I still have my ups and downs, where I said, here's this disagreement that we're having. I want to be right and I want to be happy, and I'm going to put happiness first. So I go, okay, I don't agree with you. I'm not going to fight with you. And let go of it. And the situation gets to unfold and gets to unwind itself. And as often as not, the person who I was talking to came to their own conclusion that it wasn't working, and the area that we got to wasn't what they said it was going to be. Sometimes it was what I said it was going to be, and sometimes it was a modification, something in between. But it wound up with everybody being happy. Maybe it's because everybody was heard. Maybe because everybody had an opportunity to participate. And maybe it's just because we made the choice. We aimed the ship in that direction of happiness. I choose to be happy. I have the hat, and I choose to be happy. So at this point, I'm sure you guys know what the answer is to who has the hat. So I'm going to ask one more time, and everybody answer together. Who has the hat?
I have the hat.
You have the hat. Use it well. Create the life of your dreams. Bless you. Thank you.